Hi everyone, this is Amani Ragab Hacking, immigration attorney practicing out of our St. Louis office in St. Louis, Missouri. So today I want to talk about getting ready for your I-485 green card interview. So what I like to tell clients and make sure they understand is you can picture this interview in about three significant parts. The first part is really the background, your information, biological information, historical information about who you are, where you lived, every place you've ever worked and went to school, things like that. Then the second category is really related to the security questions on the application, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. And then the last part is related to the relationship. So if your 485 is related to an employment-based green card, then it's going to be about that employment. If it's related to a spouse, then it's going to be about the relationship to that spouse. If it's related to a child or a parent, then it's going to be about that parent or child relationship. So the first section, as I said, the biographical, historical part, just need to review your application again, make sure that all the dates are correct, the addresses are correct, your social security number, your A number, all those kinds of things that you have that would be included on there that are accurate. And if there are any mistakes, we can typically correct those at the interview. You just want to make sure that you're not surprised when you enter there and that you know what to expect and the types of questions that are going to arise. So that's the biographical stuff. In terms of the security questions, there's some words in there that sometimes clients get stuck on. Polygamy, those aren't words necessarily that we use every day, or genocide. Those kinds of words, you just want to make sure that you're comfortable with, that you understand what they mean in case you're asked, what does that mean? And you answered no to this, and do you understand what it means? So making sure that you understand what those words mean. Espionage is another one. There are some terrorism related questions. The word Nazi sometimes comes up in these questions as well. So just making sure you understand what those questions are, what those words mean, and that you answer them properly and correctly at the time. And if for some reason you didn't understand them, that you do understand them now and you talk to your attorney about what it means and what you're going to say at the interview. And then the third part is the relationship type questions. And I mentioned these three categories, but every officer does it a little bit differently. So it may be that your officer starts with the biographical stuff and then interjects a few questions or asks a few questions about the relationship. And I've had them say, so, where did you meet or how did you meet? Sometimes they'll wait till the end to do that. Sometimes they start with that. So it's just good to have a sense of what to expect overall in the interview, though these three different categories, they could really address at any time and in any order. The security questions we covered, the last set of questions is going to be related to, like I said, the relationship. And they will be things like if it's a spouse case, where did you meet your spouse? When did you meet your spouse? Who proposed? How did you propose? What was your first date? Those kinds of things. And we can discuss, we discussed that in more detail as well with respect to, doing a mock interview and preparing for the actual day. So that's something to keep in mind, just kind of the overall picture. In terms of the detail, you just want to remember that you want to be at least 30 minutes early, and actually some places don't want you there any earlier than that, but 30 minutes is a good sort of point to remember when you should appear for the interview. So in case they're a little bit early, which they don't run very often, but at least when it's time for your interview, you will have already had some time to settle and get your documents in order and just be patiently waiting for them to call you. And speaking of documents, you want to make sure that you bring all original identifying documents. So you may recall that when you first submit this application, you're only sending copies of everything. So copies of your birth certificate, copies of your passport, copies of your social security number, all those kinds of things. And at the interview, what they want to do is they want to, many officers, not all of them, will ask you for certain kinds of documents, and they want to compare those to the copies that were presented. The marriage license is a big one as well. So make sure you have all original identifying documents with you, and patiently wait and see what the officer asks you for. Whatever the officer asks you for, that's what you provide them. And then, no reason to volunteer any additional documents. Just wait to see whatever else that they need. The other thing you want to think about is make sure if you haven't submitted the medical exam that you bring the medical exam with you in a sealed envelope. Another piece of information you want to make sure you have is additional marriage evidence. For instance, if this is a marriage-based case, additional marriage evidence meaning additional documentation relating to the relationship. So if you've gone on trips since you submitted the application, or you have some letters of support from individuals who want to write about your relationship, or if you have any other tickets or purchases that you've made since you filed the application, additional communication. So all those kinds of things are things that are expected at the interview. And then the last thing that I want to mention is additional information relating to tickets or citations or arrests, if those weren't previously submitted. And you want to make sure you have certified copies of those with you, or be prepared to provide those if requested by the officer. This is true for traffic citations, any type of drug charge, or any kind of arrest or altercation with or interaction with the police. So those are some things to keep in mind as you get ready for your green card application and green card interview. And if we can be of any assistance, please let us know. You can contact us at 314-961-8200. We're at the Hacking Law Practice, and this is Imani Ragab Hacking. Thank you so much.